My name's Jason Butler, and I'm the Head of Financial Education at Salary Finance. Salary Finance is an employee benefit available to you, and we're on a mission to get people out of debt and into saving. Now, we offer products, including affordable loans, which are repaid through your salary, as well as the ability to save money directly from your wages as well. Now, today I'm going to be talking to you about smart borrowing and getting control of debt. We'll be touching on how to get control of your spending, the difference between good and bad debt, coping with unexpected expenses, and how to minimize the cost of borrowing so that you can become out of debt and into saving. Now, I've got an interesting question here for you, which I just want you to think about, because it actually gets to the root of what we do with our money. And that is, what does money mean to you? And what is important about money to you? Because when you can answer that question honestly, it will help you be better with money. A lot of us aren't clear what money means to us and the role it has in our life and how it helps our happiness and fulfillment. And so therefore we are a bit hazy about some of the decisions and choices that we make. And essentially our money story, which is essentially the foundation of how we make decisions, is based on your early childhood experiences and your experiences as a young adult. And they lay the foundations for how you think and feel about money. So in my case, for instance, my money story was I grew up in a very poor house. I had 2 siblings. We lived in a very small house. We didn't have any money. My mum was a single parent. And so it really affected me. And I had a feeling that money was very scarce. And when you had it, you had to sort of grab hold of it with both hands. And it had quite a detrimental effect on me for many years, until I actually became self-aware and understood that some of the self-limiting beliefs I'd learned from my early money story was holding me back. Now, some of us, our money story is very positive and helps us make really good decisions. So the question really is just, are your beliefs, which coming from your childhood, are they holding you back? Are they holding you back from making smart decisions? Now, your money story, one of the things you might want to do is just have a reflection on it and think about that and think about where it's holding you back. And you've got to remember that your beliefs about money aren't really true. They're just beliefs. They're just what you're telling yourself. Now, we're all at different levels of financial well-being, and your level of well-being can change from 1 month to 1 year, from 1 decade to the other. So what we mean by financial well-being is securing your present. So what that really means is, first of all, getting organized. So, that means getting rid of the drawer that's full of papers that you're not looking at. It means opening emails and dealing with stuff in a timely manner. It means putting time aside so that you know what you've got, where it is, and what it's working for. It means managing any debt you have so that you're minimizing the cost of the debt and getting rid of it as quickly as possible. And that also you're able to deal with a crisis. And let's be honest, stuff happens in life. And at the end of the day, if you can't cope with the uncertainties that happen, it can blow you off course. So if you don't have savings and you have to fall back on debt, that can hold you back as well. Now, when you've got your present secured, you can then think about improving your future. And so what really this webinar is just touching on, and the series that we've got coming up, is really just about, once you've got your present secure rather, you can then think about setting new future goals and preparing for when you either can't or don't want to work, as we call it, making paid work optional. So we want to get you into the secure zone so that you can actually think of those bigger picture goals. And being financially stable has been shown by all sorts of reports is actually very important to your well-being, your happiness, and living a flourishing and fulfilling life, whatever that means to you. And that will mean different things to different people. Now, let's get into the first question. I just want to get a sense of where everyone is. How in control do you feel about your money? First of all, do you feel totally out of control and overwhelmed? Do you feel slightly out of control but not overwhelmed? Do you feel in control but think you could probably improve your position? Or do you feel totally in control and think you've got everything sorted? So I'm just going to launch that poll now. Please be as honest as you can. It's all anonymous. We don't know who's saying what. Just to get a sense of where you are at the moment. Okay, I think we're done. It's changing. I'm just going to close it, give it a few more seconds. Great. Okay, so we've got basically 41% of people feel slightly out of control but not overwhelmed. 56% feel in control but will probably improve. So there's actually no one who feels totally in control and they've got everything sorted. So that's good. That at least we understand that there's always room for improvement. And feeling in control is really, really important, because that's what makes you feel happier, when you know what you're in control and you're on the front foot. So let's first of all just talk about this old chestnut of wants versus needs. Now, what we want and what we can afford don't always balance. And sometimes that's because we've got an emergency that's happened and that we just haven't got the funds for it. But at the end of the day, everything that you want is a need. So if, for instance, you're spending a bit too much on coffees, the need for you maybe you need to get out of the office, or you need quiet time, or you need to have the buzz of an atmosphere of people around you to help you work. The question really isn't to decry the fact you've got the need, but it's how could you deal with that need with either not spending money or spending less money. So it's about being intentional. And the downside is if you aren't in control of understanding your needs, is you can end up incurring expensive debt. The average household, actually the average adult in the UK, has currently got just over £4,000 of unsecured debt. So let's look at why it is that we sometimes find it difficult to control spending. We've all of us got two financial personalities. We've got the planner and the doer. Now, essentially, let's just look at it like this. The planner is rational. It's got your long-term interests at heart. It's thinking of your best interests, and it takes time to consider the options and the pros and cons. And the doer is completely the opposite. The doer is myopic, it's impulsive, it's short-term, it's looking for, it's self-interest. And it's based very much on our primeval brain, the amygdala, which is the fight or flight aspect. And it's where you're stimulated and there's lots of messages around you, or if you're feeling certain ways and your emotions and physically and mentally you're feeling a certain way, can affect your financial planning decisions. So you have to understand that it's not a case of your planner controlling your doer, but making sure that your doer is not controlling your every decision. So you will never win every battle, but you can win the war, as it were. And understanding how to control the doer is the key, I think, to being a smart with your money. Now, let's just look at the concept of fear of missing out. Now, the fear of missing out, it has been around since the beginning of time, and it's amplified by social media and all the messages and marketing messages we get, is if we feel that we somehow are missing out on great things that are out there, then it might make us spend our money in a way which is not in our best interests. And obviously, when you think about social media, I mean, let's be honest, it's not the truth, is it? What you've got there is a curated version of what people think that other people should be seeing and what is a perfect life. But you see, if you go back to that first question, what's important about money to you, then what other people do with their money and how they live their life should bear no relation to what is important and relevant to you, and therefore your buying decisions. And remember, people are putting on social media a curated version of who they think that they should be or they want you to see. It's not the real them. And if you're comparing yourself also with what other people are doing, there's a recipe for disaster, because there's always going to be someone who's got more than you, or there's, believe it or not, better looking, or got more friends. It's just life. Now, the other aspect is sales. Now, it's been proven that people like shopping. People do enjoy shopping because it gives them a rush. But the problem is with shopping, it's called hedonic treadmill, is that the effect wears off. So as soon as you've done the shopping, you actually need to keep doing shopping to make you feel, sustain the feeling. And here's the thing, as I said to my wife the other day, I said, look, the fact that you say to me a jacket you just bought was being marked down from £150 to £100 doesn't mean you save £50. The price that the retailer is telling you it was before is completely irrelevant and is a marketing ploy. Yes, okay, technically they may have had to have it priced at that higher price in some of their shops for 28 days. But the reality is they're trying to anchor you to make you feel good about purchasing and purchasing today. So the question really is not what it was marked up before or what you think you saved. The question is, do I want to spend this £100 on this jacket today? And what can I not now spend that money on? Now it's gone. And remember, once it's gone, it's gone. So remember, there are no such things as sales, and shopping, the feelings from shopping quickly fall off. Now, there's been quite a lot of research showing that shopping and sadness are a very, very bad combination. And the reason for this is because marketers know that when you're feeling down, if you're feeling pain of some description, emotional pain or psychological pain, if a retailer can suggest, or a marketer can suggest, that buying their product or service can alleviate pain, it's a very basic human condition. We want to avoid pain and we want to gain pleasure. So if you as a marketer can show someone that you can avoid the pain and you can give them pleasure, then they're more likely to spend their money, particularly on things that are not particularly relevant. And it's been shown that if you go shopping when you're sad, far from alleviating your feelings of sadness, it actually reinforces the very negative feelings that you're trying to get rid of. So, shopping, as I said, don't ever go shopping or try to avoid shopping when you're sad, whether that's online or in shops. Is just a recipe for disaster. Now, the Stoics were ancient philosophers around many, many years before Christianity was ever thought of. And they had a philosophy of life saying that there are only two things in this life that you can control. And you need to understand what you can and what you can't control. The only things you can control are your attitude, your judgments, and your actions, what you do. Everything else will be as it is. You can't control the economy, you can't control to a certain degree what happens with your future health, or if you lose your job, or tax rates, or stock market, or house prices. So just let that go. For instance, you could be living a healthy lifestyle, walk across the road and get run over by the proverbial bus. That is just unfortunate, and that happens. So when you understand that the two things you can control when your money, which is your earning, and to a greater extent your spending, that then says, okay, everything else will be as it is, but you can and will be able to control that. So what we first of all got to understand is the difference between good debt and bad debt. And there is a difference. Essentially, good debt funds things which are going to generate a return which is higher than the cost of the borrowing, and that are going to add something positive to your life in the long run. So examples of good debt would be something, like, for instance, paying for an education. I know there's some conjecture about the quality of some courses and degrees and apprenticeships, but on balance, investing in yourself is always the very best investment you can make, even if you have to take a debt to do that. And it's been proven that graduates and skilled apprentices always earn, or generally earn, more money than people who haven't invested in themselves. So that's often seen as a very good investment. And by the way, student debt is not a debt. It's a contingent tax liability that just happens to be sort of ring-fenced. So in the UK, certainly that is the case. And another form of good debt would be buying your home to live in, because you have to live somewhere, so you have to pay rent somewhere. So the idea is that as long as you've got this in proportion to the rest of your life, so there's no point in just having a house and nothing else, you'll eventually not have to pay rent, or at least a lot less rent, and you'll have the equity value of the house when you finish repaying your loan, which you can use using later life either to downscale or moving to rented and free up the capital. So that's examples of a good debt. But bad debt is to fund consumption, or to fund things that once you've spent the money, it's gone. Rihanna took her financial advisor to court recently, and in the court case, the financial advisor said, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I told Rihanna that if you've got money and then you buy stuff, you've then got the stuff, you don't have the money. So think every time that you go and buy something, is this a good purchase or a bad purchase? Is this stuff I'm buying, or is this an investment in myself or in my future? Okay, so just think about that. Now, we do sometimes get into bad debt because stuff just happens. We might have been out of work for a while, or been ill, we couldn't, our earnings dropped, all those hours at work were reduced, or we had something else in our family, such as, the boiler went wrong or the car broke down and we didn't have emergency funds. So debts do arise not just from spending, they do arise from calamities and things that are outside our control. Now, I know you probably didn't get up this morning with a spring in your step thinking, God, I can't wait. I wish someone would talk to me about budgeting, right? Because budgeting is the kind of thing that boring people do, right? It's an accounting thing. It's a kind of, sounds like restricting. It's not the sort of thing that fun, happening people like you do, is it? But it is the key to greater happiness. But when very few of us are ever taught this at home, and we're never taught this at school. And actually all the messages aren't about budgeting, they're all about spending. And budgeting, in very simple terms, is about you telling your money where you want it to go, not wondering where it went. So every pound you earn has to have a job. And I'll explain to you in a minute how you can go about doing that in a bit more simple way. So let's now look at the second question. This will be interesting to see. I want to know what your approach to controlling your spending is. So either you don't have a budget and you spend what you want each month, or you don't have a budget, you usually spend only what you earn each month, or you do have a budget but don't usually follow it too much, or you do have a budget and generally follow it most months. So now I want you to answer that, please, and let's see what we've got here. Oh, very interesting. I'll just give it a little bit longer. Very, very interesting. I'll just give you a little bit longer for the shy ones. Click now or forever hold your peace. Okay. Okay. Now we've got there 28% of people don't have a budget and spend what they want each month. 20% don't have a budget but spend only what they earn each month. 33% do have a budget but don't usually follow it too much. And 20% do have a budget and generally follow it most months. So we've got a real mixed bag there, but I think it's fair to say that the vast majority of people are not what we call budget supremos. They're not people who feel that they've got really a total handle on their spending. That's quite okay. That's quite normal. We understand that. So we're going to try and change that for you. Now, the first thing, in order to get rid of bad debt, you've really got to get control of spending. Okay, so I recommend that you don't ever worry about budgeting. You think about smart spending. And this system I devised over the years to help people basically just make it easy. Because if anything's difficult, people won't do it. So the first thing to think of is that there are actually 3 U's. There's the basic U, which is meeting all your core living costs now. There's the future U, which is meeting debt repayments and building up savings. And then there's my favourite one, the fun U, which is all about funding luxuries, the hobbies, the holidays, all the things that make life interesting. And here's the thing, if you get this right, you can have more fun. This is not about austerity. That's the sort of thing that is not really going to get anyone motivated. But if you can give yourself permission to have fun and you've got some constraints, then you're going to create space for the future you. Now, as a rough rule of thumb, I recommend you think about having about 50% of your money allocated to the basic U, 20% to the future you, and 30% to the fun you. Now, here's a couple of caveats here. If you are very new to your career or you're early in your career and your income is relatively low, or you've had a big change in your circumstances, such as you've got divorced or had a relationship breakdown, or you're living in a very expensive area like London or somewhere like that, then the basic U costs may be higher than 50%. But whatever is left, you should allocate between 40% of what's left to the future U and 60% to fun U. And I recommend that you always have more fun than the future. And you can always, if you can keep with that, and I'll show you how in a minute, then you can always increase the amount for the future you and reduce your fun if you find you can get more fun without spending. Okay, and there are lots of ways to have fun without spending. The first thing though is to think about the money when it comes in. It comes into your existing bank account, and immediately you have going out to you future you money, whether that's debt repayments or savings. And we'll touch on salary finance and how we can help you do that. But you basically are paying yourself first. And then the balance of the basic you costs go out to your first bank account. But the balance of the fun you money goes into one or more subsidiary bank accounts, and you can have as many as you want. So you can have the going out at night fund, you can have the holiday fund. And if you label each of these separate accounts with different sort of purposes, and you allocate money to that at the beginning of each month. And with the new Challenger banks, you can open as many accounts as you want and have them all linked to one of these like phone apps. It makes it really easy to do. And if you really don't find you can control yourself with digital spending, then you can actually just take the fun new money and put it in envelopes, and 4 envelopes each month, and spend it that way. You can go old school. But the point is to spend down pre-allocated amounts, whether it's in a bank account or a cash in a wallet, each week. So if you've spent £50 on going out one week and that's your budget, you can't spend any more. And if you do spend more one week, then you can't spend the next week. And it's learning to say no to things a little bit more so you can say yes to more things. Sounds a bit counterintuitive. So you're spending down to zero the fun money, but you're being honest about how much you spend. And don't beat yourself up if you are spending £400 a month in going out drinking. If that suits you, you're single, you're in a new city, but make sure you've got some constraints. You know, it's okay. Now, I just want to touch on a couple of things about how you might also control your spending and get rid of any bad debt. Is tell you the story of Michelle McGrath, who is actually a financial journalist who wrote a fantastic book, and I've known Michelle for about 15 years. She found that she, despite earning a good income, she never really seemed to get ahead. And she described herself as living in London with my husband Frank and our large mortgage. And the interesting thing about Michelle was that she didn't really think she was very materialistic, but they were having a load of work done to their house and they had to clear all the furniture and all the stuff out. So they put it all in storage. And as you can imagine, she had to keep going to and from the storage to get things out. And one day she went there to get some stuff and found a couple of boxes that had to be thrown away. So not only did she put all this stuff in storage, she put the rubbish in storage as well. So she decided to have a complete purge, and they sold, gave away, recycled, or put in the landfill everything and anything they didn't need. And they slimmed down to about 10% of their previous possessions. So when they actually did finish the building work, they didn't have much to put back in the house either. But then she went one step further, and on Black Friday, she found there was a buy nothing day movement on the same day, which is where you buy nothing, you spend no money. She thought, I can do even better than this, and she had a whole 12 months where she spent literally no money other than the basic costs of running at home, small amounts for food and toiletries, and everything else was that, no spending. So when she went out with friends socialising, she'd sit over a glass of tap water and wouldn't let them buy her a drink. They didn't go on foreign holidays or any kind of spending holiday. They got their 2 bikes out and went on a cycling holiday and camped for literally nothing. They were stewards at a pop concert and saw bands, but they didn't have to pay for it. So they spent a whole year, and at the end of the year, they'd saved, even though they were only modest earners, £23,000. And after she got over the terrible hangover she had from the first celebration of the day that these no spending finished, she decided to pay her mortgage down by £23,000 because she'd proven to herself that being happy wasn't about spending, and that what was important to her was about getting debt-free and spending time with her husband and not trying to live a life that wasn't really in tune with her values. So it can be done. Now, I'm not saying that you go and do a complete spending detox and diet. Please don't think that. I'm just saying it is possible. Now, the thing to really think about here is, what could you potentially sell and declutter from your own home? You could do this weekend. So first of all, have you got nothing? All your clutter is complete and utter rubbish? Do you think you might be able to gather up about £500 worth of stuff and sell online or in an auction? Do you think you might have £1,500? Or do you think you've got more than £3,000? So let's be honest. Let's now see, please, the voting's in progress. Let's see how much money you've got sitting in the attic, in the garage, in the spare room. Think honestly, come on. We don't know who you are, so that's okay. Okay, just give you a few more seconds. This is looking very good. I'm very, very encouraged. Right, okay, so the results there. 61% of people, well, first of all, 9% of you have got nothing but tour. So it's not worth no value. I still think you're being hard on yourself. The vast majority, 61% of people think there's at least £500 worth of stuff they could sell. 18% of you have got £1,500, and over 10%, 12%, if you've got £3,000 worth of stuff that you could get rid of. So here's the first thing. Go home this weekend and declutter and sell the stuff. The first thing you can do to get rid of bad debt is turn the took and the rubbish and the stuff into money. So as well as dealing with your future spending, you can get rid of the rubbish. And you know what? As well as the money, you'll feel so much better. This is so cathartic. It's unbelievable. Okay. Now, another thing to think of is that if you've got credit card debt or sort of overdrafts, the typical credit card, if you just paid the minimum payment all the time with a typical interest rate, it'll take you 26 years and 8 months to repay it. But if you kept the payment the same, if you have the discipline to, it will take you 5 years and 4 months. Now, the average credit card costs about 18.35% APR. The typical borrowing loan from salary finance is 9.95% APR. With some people, it'll be a lot less, and some people, it'll be higher. It all depends on your overall profile. But what makes the borrowing from salary finance so much cheaper for most people is because obviously we know your employer, And also, we know that the money is going to be deducted from your salary. And it's actually not just the saving of the interest and having a lower interest, but it's the scheduled repayment. Because if you've just got a credit card bill that never seems to go, or an overdraft that just seems to stick around, you're not really being serious about getting rid of it. So your employers launch salary finance to make sure that you can get structured repayment terms, usually at lower cost, with the discipline of having it deducted from your salary. And the beauty of that is once you've repaid that expensive borrowing, whatever it was for, then you can redirect the money into savings, and we have a product for that, which we will cover in future webinars. So it's out of debt into savings. And here's the thing, let's say that you don't have existing debt, but you have a calamity like the boiler goes wrong or the car breaks down. You can also apply for a salary finance loan to meet that unexpected situation if you don't have existing debt. And don't forget, there are things that we buy like car insurance, smartphones. My daughter's just had a car insurance renewal. They want £570. If she wants to buy it on instalment, they charge her nearly 20% interest. So don't just think of the typical things. There's lots of things that you save money by paying annually and by not having their interest. And the same with iPhones. iPhones, Samsung, any other smartphones, about 15% APR. So it's well worth looking at the other things that you do need to buy to see whether there's actually a way of funding them. Now we've got a brand new Be Better With Money website coming live next month, which your employer will let you know about. And that is primarily a whole series of videos. We call them the box sets, season 1, season 2, season 3. So the beauty of this, you can take your tablet or your laptop to bed with you, and you can listen to me, and you can binge watch all of the short videos where I explain to you the basics, I explain to you how to build wealth, and I explain to you how to live off your money when you're past work. So that's all coming out. We've got tools on there. We've got some really simple guides that make it really easy to understand. This one's called Handling a Rise in Your Income, all the things you need to know about and what you need to do. But I want you to stop and think, what can you do in the next 7 days to improve your situation? Whether that's, getting better at the saving, whether that's getting rid of stuff and paying down debt, whether that's replacing existing debt with a lower cost salary finance loan, whether that's directing debt repayments into saving. So I hope that's made you stop and think. We're here to help you. This is the salary finance team. We're very, very diverse. We've all got different backgrounds. We've all got different values and opinions. You'll see me right at the back there. Right at the back, you'll probably, if anyone can spot me, there's a small prize for anyone who knows where I am. It's a bit like Find Wally. I'm hiding there in the back. But we are here to help you. We're really wired about helping you be better with money, because if you can get control of your debt, you can basically then become a saver. Then you can become an investor. And here's the thing, if you improve your financial well-being, you will be happier. There is no question about it. So that's me finished. We're here to help. We wish you every success. If there are any questions, very, very happy to hear. Please ask them away. Let's have a look at what we've got. Okay, right, we've got a couple here just coming in already. First one says, you say we should get control of spending, but what do you think about spending apps? Well, first and foremost, as you'll probably remember, I did mention that a lot of the challenger banks and some of the more incumbent banks now are coming out with really snazzy apps that track your spending and help you arrange, be a better spender. And I think they're brilliant, and do give them a go. But the research shows that there's nothing to beat printing off an old school printed budget and putting some kites up, put the coffee on, a cup of tea, put aside a rainy afternoon, and just go through your bank statements. You can use a spreadsheet if you want, but it's actually proven that for most people, going through and getting reality of what they're currently spending and deciding, is that the right job for each pound? Does that make sense? That is probably the best way to go forward. So I would commend that to you. We've got another one here, is if I don't have anything of value to sell for my home, are there any other good tips for going minimalist and spending less or saving more? Well, I think if you can't cut spending out, and many people can't, they're actually at the minimum of what they want to spend. The key is, can you spend smarter? Can you get the same thing at a lower cost? I mean, the reason why Lidl and Aldi have done so well is because they're selling essentially a commodity, but for significantly less than the incumbents. And that's why Tesco's had to start its own, new discounter called Jack's. Although I don't know if they've thought about it has a certain connotation in the Irish market. I think Jax means going to the toilet, so good luck with them with that one in Ireland. But so in other words, being a smarter spender is just about being intentional. It's about deciding, do you need to spend money on the right things, and if you do have to spend, can you spend less? I mean, it may be that you can save money on your mortgage because your house balance has gone up in value. Great. Okay. Well, the time is kind of up. We couldn't get to all of the questions there. If we get a chance, we will write the answers to the questions we've had, and we will distribute those. And when you get the alert for the new salary finance, financial well-being portal, we will be sort of showing you what other people have said. And also, if you've got some examples of things that work for you, please share them with us after this webinar. We'd love to share those stories on an anonymized basis of other people, because no one's got a monopoly on ideas.